Hey there, ladies. Welcome. Yes, we can all notice that I got my hair cut. Looking good, huh? I guess that was my artist date, changing my hair. So, chapter 11, autonomy. I'm not sure I ever even really knew what that word meant. Um, it wasn't something that was really part of my life. I didn't know where I ended and my mom began as a kid growing up, and that separation, that codependent relationship continued into adulthood, um, and caused a lot of relationship problems for both of us. So learning what autonomy is has been a process, and I think as I learned about what it was, I didn't even really realize that it was called autonomy. I think I almost, when I was reading this chapter in the book, like, oh, that's what that is. So sometimes we can go through this process without knowing that's the word, but let's focus. This week, we focus on our artistic autonomy. We examine the ongoing ways in which we must nurture and accept ourselves as artists, like as in our identity. We accept ourselves as artists. We explore the behaviors that strengthen our spiritual base and therefore our creative power. And we take a special look at the ways in which success must be handled in order that we're not sabotaging our freedom. So we have to experiment with what works for us, as she says. Um, Being true to the inner artist often results in work that sells, but not always. We need to free ourselves from determining the value of things and then the value of my work by like a work's market value. You know, acceptance and value is something that just in our lives really can wreak havoc in our lives when we don't have a good hold on that and we're not reining that in and checking in with the creator daily, giving it up, renewing our mind, figure this stuff out. We easily just go rogue. What I mean is we need to articulate what works for us in terms of our own schedules, for creating and for taking yourself on artist states and spending that one-on-one time with the creator, doing the morning pages. Then the flow increases, and often that's going to produce things out of you. It might not always be a piece of physical artwork. It might be a creative idea or a solution to something going on or an answer to prayer, but you're going to see like visible, tangible results of some type. Does that make sense? So, look, we're not saying that you don't charge for your time or your art or that there's no, worth in money at all, but we need to not just be motivated by the money. Like we can't let money be the reason we're doing it. We must learn that our creative credibility is what lies within us and within God and within our work. And we write the poem, whether it's going to sell or not, out of almost an obedience. Does that make sense? That there's like an obligation to the creator for giving you the idea that you're supposed to do it, and then just see what happens. Kind of backwards for how we kind of do things. We usually have to like figure out if it's going to be worth the while, if anybody's going to read it, who's reading it, what is this for, or, there must be a purpose. We must have the purpose decided ahead of time, right? No. So I love how she talks about building like a sensible plan. There's no such thing. I thought that was really interesting. Um, yeah, she says too, trying to build a sensible plan for our creativity cannot be successfully done, especially if it's dictated by cash flow and marketing strategies. Oops. We should be creating what needs to be created. We must surround ourselves with other creatives and people that nurture this inner artist, this childlike behavior, and don't try to domesticate it. Does that make sense? certain friendships kick off the imagination and other ones just deaden or stifle it. So we need as artists to do the work whether it's good or not. And she kind of talks about this. I want to read together on 180. She says, as an artist, I must be very careful to surround myself with people who nurture my artist, not people who try to overly domesticate it for my own good. Certain friendships, okay, here we go, will kick it off. Others are deadening it. I might be a good cook, a rotten housekeeper, a strong artist. But I am messy, I'm disorganized except when it comes to writing, a demon for creative detail, and not real interest in the details like polished shoes and floors. Okay, I just gotta stop there and say I'm relating with this. I'm not like a slob or anything. And if anybody's gonna come over, the house is gonna be clean, but I don't really like uninterrupted guests or people that just like, hey, I was in the neighborhood. Because my house, it gets a little goofy. I don't put things away. It's like that creative energy hits me and I'm everywhere. And I feel free in living my life that way and really don't shame myself. It's just a lot when I think somebody externally is coming in the home and judging me for how I live. But I do have this freedom and not worrying what all that looks like. And I'm pretty happy that way. And I never really thought of that as something maybe being associated with my creativity. I just thought I was doing something bad, or I'm a slob, or no one taught me to clean enough, or I don't put enough emphasis on cleaning because I'm out of balance. No, I'm not a complete slob. I don't have like empty junk everywhere. I'm just telling you that this is good because it explains maybe that the way we think and operate is just a little different. So our priorities are going to be different, and that's not bad, is it? Especially for some of us that are clean freaks and they look at others like, what is your problem? All right. To a large degree, my life is my art. Oh, I love that. So when it gets dull, so does my work. As an artist, I might poke into what other people think is dead ends, a punk band that I fall for, a piece of gospel music that hooks my inner ear, a red piece of silk that I add to a nice outfit, therefore ruining it. I do that sometimes with headbands. I add that to the outfit. I like it, but later on I look back at pictures and think, what the heck? I'm sure people thought I ruined it. Whatever. My whole life I'm just ruining it. As an artist, I may frizz my hair or change my hair or wear weird clothes. I may spend too much money on perfume in the pretty blue bottle because even if the perfume stinks, because the bottle lets me write about Paris in the 30s. As an artist, I write whether I think it's good or not. I shoot movies other people may hate. I sketch bad sketches to say I was in the room. I was happy. It was May. I was meeting somebody I wanted to meet. As an artist, my self-respect comes from doing the work. One performance at a time, one gig at a time, one painting at a time. 2.5 years to make a 90-minute piece of film, 5 drafts of one play, 2 years working on a musical. Through it all, daily, I showed up at the morning pages. And I write about my ugly curtains, my rotten haircut, or nice one. My delight in the way the light hit the trees on the morning run. As an artist, I do not need to be rich, but I do need to be richly supported. Cannot allow my emotional and intellectual life to stagnate, or the work will show it. It'll show it. My life will show it. My temperament will show it. If I don't create, I get crabby. Maybe that's why you're crabby. Maybe that's why you block, because you don't create. So then you're using or doing or eating or shopping or complaining or comparing or whatever, because that's easier. As an artist, I can die from boredom. I kill myself when I fail to nurture my artist because I'm acting like somebody else's idea of an adult. The more I nurture my artist child, the more adult I can actually appear. Spoiling my artist means it will let me type a business letter. Ignoring it means a grinding depression. So, let that sink in. It's easier to do the mundane, like If you don't wouldn't like if you I dread doing a task, it's easier for me to like schedule out time and just do that task if I've made some time to play, to work in my garden, to go on a walk, to work on like a piece of design that I want to do, something that gets me enthusiastic versus disciplined, right? So that's the start of autonomy. It's being able to think for yourself and not in terms of a relationship with someone else in order to cater to their needs. You are really honing in on your own weirdness because we're all unique and weird. So, you know what I mean? She talks about the connection of the self nurturing and the self respect. When we don't do this for ourselves, we're kind of crabby. And we are doing this so we can appear more normal or nice. And we're selling ourselves out. I mean, maybe other people would like you better if you just always did what they wanted, but you're going to begin hating yourself. And when you hate yourself, you just start acting off. And people can see that. They might not know what it is, but they know there's something. Sometimes we don't know we hate ourselves. Have you literally asked yourself that question? I think you might be shockingly surprised if you ask yourself, do I hate myself? If anything comes to mind, spend a little time in the morning asking that. Jot down anything that comes to mind. Those are things to examine. When we lash out at others, it's probably because of something within us, which then can lead to self-sabotage. So on 181, it can be a little confusing, but that's what leads to these binges. Because if we're not nice to ourselves, it leads to bad behavior. Isn't that weird? All right. I love how she says that creativity is oxygen for our souls. Cutting off the creativity makes us savage, and we react like being choked. To kill your dreams, she says on 182, because they're irresponsible, is to be irresponsible to yourself. Ooh, ouch, ouch. Credibility lies with you and God, not with a vote of your friends and acquaintances. So, can you think of a way that you'd like to separate yourself from friends or others? Sorry. Can you think of anything? She talks about the zen of sports, and I started getting bored right from the chapter title. But then, no, I read it. And you already are probably kind of giggling because you've watched some of my other videos and know that I'm not like this huge exercise buff. But moving the body is important. And I thought it was interesting how she talks about how creativity requires action and the part of action is physical. There's a physicality to it. Exercise combats our spiritually induced dysfunction. Ooh, that got to me. And it clears up our heads. I mean, just taking 20 minutes out to stretch the mind, stretch the calves. But we're not talking about some supreme level of fitness training. Hey, that's great. Maybe someday. But it's sensory. I guess I do get a lot of my ideas from driving or walking, but I know walking does it the most, but I just think I just don't take the time because it's getting away from the tasks of other people or perceived work or ministry work even that keeps me from doing that. But the truth is, if I trusted God enough, there must be some kind of fear component, because if I trusted God enough to walk away from the work to do the walks, I'd be more productive, more creative, and get more done. So I loved how she talked on 187. Exercise teaches the reward of a process. I guess I like to sit down and like just push and get something done until it's done versus slower steps, which is what is encouraged in this journey. Breaking things down into manageable steps so you actually get started. But that's what happens with exercise, but I just never have given it like long enough. You know what I mean? You start to feel a little sore, ouch, versus, oh, I have a little bit of a muscle. So, oh, I actually, lost some weight here or whatever, my clothes fit better or whatever, but it's like that slow process. So, moving through difficulty, it's kind of like when I wanted to change my eating habits. Even though I'm not a perfect eater, but I do like healthy food and eat healthy food and crave healthy food and want it if I'm feeling deficient in something. But in the beginning, I had to like pray about that, like make me like it. I wasn't a super picky eater, but like understanding that like food is fuel. So maybe so I guess when I was reading about the walking and the movement, she says move through the difficulties. So I think that's always so emotional for me. And it's like this crying and spending time and writing and journaling, and that's all awesome. But maybe that physicality of moving and what that would provide in terms of difficulty. I mean, the Israelites had to literally walk for 40 years in the desert through difficulty. But who knows what kind of revelations were given to them. So I don't know. I just feel like there's something we're missing here. I'm missing. And I'm praying that all of us are able to increase our physicality in a way that pleases God, but really helps spark the creativity within us and our relationship with the Creator. So she talks about this sensory saturation, and that's important. What else? The altar. She talks about that. It's a place that feels like holy or happy to us. Making it like a sensory experience to nature, to art, to imagery, to books, to smells, to oils, to teas, to music, to lighting. It's kind of what I'm doing in my closet for myself. I'm not sure it's anyone else's taste, but I kind of have this wardrobe closet that I do. And I like to sit in there because it's this safe, secluded, like hidden place that's mine. Because my bedroom I share with my husband. It's mostly mine. Chicks, we just take over, right? But you know what I mean? Like, even if he's like still sleeping, because I wake up pretty early and I want to be like, get out of bed or whatever. And we have a pretty decent sized house, but I like to go off in that closet because it's secure, and I have like a doll in there and my blanket and my books and my Bible, and just I don't know, I'm kind of surrounded by candles and stuff, and my coffee mug and my coaster, and some art that a little flag because I like to pray for the nation. So there's just some stuff, and I know over time I'll add more to the closet as inspired by the Creator to add. So I'm making that my altar. So find a spot. It can be your weird closet. It can be a corner in a room, but it's like your own sacred space, safe. The tests were good. She talks about like you can record your voice doing the affirmations, or there's the artist prayer, putting that in your wallet, creating a special notebook for your creativity. Talking about ways to nurture yourself. And then one of them that's interesting is writing and mailing an encouraging letter to your inner artist. I highly encourage you to do that. If you want, you can write this letter to encourage yourself and give it to me, and I will wait and I'll mail it like a year from now. Just give it to me at the last class. I've had people do this. It's not a requirement. You got a lot to do and remember in life. But I think it's so interesting because I'll hold on to them and then I'll like randomly mail them back. Like not right away. You'll kind of almost forget about it. And I've had them touch people so much. Like, oh my God, it's their own writing. So when a time capsule yourself, do that exercise and give it to me at the last. I won't read it or open it. I'll mail it back to you at some point. I need your address though. I think I have them, but from when you signed up. But you know what I mean. All right. And then she talks about re-examining the God's concept. Has it changed? Is anything changed as you've evaluated that? Might be something to talk about at check-in. So don't forget about synchronicities. I'd love for you to share those too. We're winding up, only one more week. And what a journey this has been. Can't wait to hear your check-ins.